So how'd you think that went, Susie?
I think having 2 ambulances dispatched at the same time was very beneficial since we ended up with 2 patients.
Yeah, it's a good thing we used that 2-tiered system because we certainly needed the extra set of hands today.
Yeah, it was nice when we got there and we kind of had some privacy where you guys were in that office and everybody else got pushed out at that point. And we didn't spend a lot of time there because we had, what seemed to be a sick kid, but it was nice that we didn't have to work out in the open.
And it was nice that, Mary's coworker got everybody out of the boardroom and she went to call the family to get any more history. Mm-hmm. So that was very helpful that we had that bystander. We
weren't there very long. I didn't notice. Did you have her on oxygen at all? Or?
Yeah, we did. We had started some oxygen early on. We did 4 liters nasal cannula.
Okay.
Not that we would always have to do that.
Right.
But in this case, we did.
Did you guys think that you would have needed a second ALS unit to take care of her with you, or?
Well, it was nice when Mike was doing the oxygen, I did the vital signs. Mm-hmm. So our initial set of vital signs were good, mm-hmm. and then as soon as the baby was delivered, we took another set mm-hmm. just to make sure. And I think with her vitals were stable, that we were able to transport, and we had our vehicle there quickly as well. So
yeah, had we not gotten the bleeding under control at the end, mm-hmm. certainly we should have considered an ALS unit for the transport.
Right.
Was there a lot of bleeding?
There was a substantial amount early on, but we started taking care of it right away with pads and the fundal massage.
Okay.
And in fact, we probably should have, given her some indication that we were going to have to do that.
Yes. It happened so quickly
right.
that once the baby was delivered, I used pads, and then Mike started right away with fundal massage because she was hemorrhaging.
Right.
So we should have taken the time to do that. But we just moved so quickly.
I'm sure it wasn't all that comfortable for her, but it worked.
No.
A lot. It seemed like there was a lot of pain associated with it, so we probably should have given her some indication that we were going to do that.
Nice.
So.
Yeah. Sounds like that went pretty well.
Yeah, and I'm very thankful that you got the baby out of there so quick too.
Yes.
We were able to, try to refocus her. Although it was hard to do that, but it was absolutely beneficial that you got her out of it.
She was anxious too because now she's bleeding, worrying about her baby. So having you come in quickly let us concentrate on the mother, and then you took care of the baby.
Yeah.
How'd that go?
Well, we got out really quickly and got into the ambulance, and the child wasn't doing too well at first, but...
a little lethargic, didn't have a real aggressive cry at first. Mm-hmm. We started with some just room air bag valve mask, mm-hmm. And as soon as we had her on the pulse ox and realized that the umbilical pulse was so low, we just immediately moved to some compressions, and after about 90 seconds, we switched over to some high-flow oxygen. We didn't want to go too quick with that, but also with the heart rate being so low, we didn't want to wait too long either.
Yeah, and we did a few other things like, the padding under the shoulders, the hyperextend the head a little bit, not too far, the right size mask, right OPA, those kinds of things. Mm-hmm. It was good to have that kit where you had everything in one place that you could look at.
Right.
What we should have had a little more accessible down the line was maybe like a length-based resuscitation.
Sure.
Like that.
Yeah, and I know it's in the ALS bag, but we should either have a second one in the PEDS bag or just move it there where all that stuff's going to be anyway.
So what made you decide to start compressions?
The heart rate was in the 40s consistently, and we didn't have a pulse ox above the mid-80s.
Yeah, it was pretty low.
So we didn't waste any time. And honestly, she responded really well. We did compressions for probably less than a minute with some high flow oxygen, just inflated the alveoli really nicely, and she started crying and moving on her own.
Yeah,
and the rest
was good. It went pretty quickly too.
It did.
Yeah.
We switched to blow by oxygen, and she maintained her oxygen saturations, and the heart rate came right up, and the rest was a fairly routine transport from that point.
Keeping the child warm and monitoring her.
I did think the only other thing I thought of afterwards was we should have had the IO drill out. Because we weren't going to have time to mess around with the peripheral line, and we don't really have the equipment for that umbilical line.
Right.
So had she desaturated, we really should have been more prepared.
Maybe we can throw an IO drill in the PEDS bag.
We use it for our kids and adults. It's just a matter of knowing where it is and not having to fumble around to get it out.
Yeah, that's true.
So certainly once they took the child, it became much more anxious for us. And thankfully we were freed up. But not knowing what the outcome of the baby was going to be was both challenging for us as well as the mother.
Right, because she kept asking questions and we were concentrating on her. So we only could reassure her that baby was in good hands and you were taking care of the child while we were taking care of her.
I think it may have been better to manage it that way instead of having both things going on in
Yes.
one location.
She wouldn't have been able to focus on anything but the baby
No.
if she could
Yeah.
hear it struggling in the background.
Exactly.
So I think transporting in 2 separate ambulances to the same facility in this case was beneficial for both patients.
Absolutely.
And the hospital was ready for you when you got there?
Oh yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. They had a team outside waiting.
Great. Excellent.
Was there anything that we could have had done differently when you got there?
I think we got the information that we needed.
Okay.
You know, the baby was ready. We didn't really have to do very much else. We were able to get into the ambulance and start the resuscitation immediately.
Yeah, I had her wrapped up and ready to go that way.
Right.
Warm, swaddler, that whole thing. So you gave us the real quick. This is what it is. See ya.
So did you do APGAR?
We really didn't. It's I don't always remember that, and to have to go by a checklist, and it's just too cumbersome. I think.
Yeah,
to
it
come up
sounds
with
like use of the APGAR is on the way out anyway.
It wouldn't have
it
changed
is.
anything that we did anyway.
Right.
And then to try and relay that to the hospital, what numbers and the areas and the beginning and the end.
Right.
It just worked to plainly say what was going on.
Right. We give a plain English report of what we did before and after, she was in distress, and they were able to put together a good picture of what they need when we got there.
And what was helpful for us, because of how it was dispatched, we had our OB kit with us. So we had that right there with our airway bag, and everything was in there. So, we were able to lay that out, and since it was such a quick delivery, we were able to have all the equipment there and ready to go use.
Yeah, it was important to take in the AED, the airway bag,
was.
and the OB kit all at the same exact time. Certainly, in this case, it paid off.
Right.
Yeah.
No, that's good. Excellent.
So,
Childbirth is a BLS skill.
absolutely it is. Well, that's good. I'm glad it all worked out well.
Now we can get our stork pins. We need pink stork pins.
Yeah, I'm glad it all worked out well.